Good evening. I'm William Vincent, and for the next several moments, I'd like to borrow your attention and speak to you about a subject that I feel like is immensely important to each and every one of us. And that subject is the abuse and the overuse of antibiotics. What would we do without antibiotics? Imagine a world where we had no antibiotics. Imagine a world where simple infections could actually take the lives of people. That may seem like a world of the distant past, but according to experts, if we don't get a handle on how we're using antibiotics, that could in fact be a world of the future. And according to the CDC, even though there is an awareness of the abuse of antibiotics, it still occurs and it has devastating side effects. I'd like to present to you this afternoon that it is imperative that we get a handle on how we're using and abusing antibiotics so that we can preserve this powerful medical tool for those of the future. According to an article by Jim Hamilton Miller entitled Antibiotics and Their Use, 45 to 60% of antibiotics that are prescribed are either not needed, inappropriate, or given wrong. That's a huge problem. It is compounded by the fact that when we do prescribe antibiotics and they're not needed, they tend to develop antibiotic resistant strains of bacteria. And this is a devastating side effect. According to Brian Kranz in his article, Five Frightening Consequences of the Overuse of Antibiotics, he says antibiotics are the keystone of modern medicine, but overuse of antibiotics is causing devastating effects and even creating problems presently in people's medical lives. For one thing, certain issues like diarrhea among infants can cause death because of the overuse of antibiotics. There are healthy bacteria within our body that are destroyed by antibiotics. There are several key issues like this, but the key and the most important issue is that once we abuse this antibiotic ability, the drugs that we're using simply will no longer work. According to the Mayo Clinic, drugs that used to be standard treatment are no longer effective today. That's not a future prognosis. That's a right now type of situation. That means that right now there are antibiotics that we used to use to treat infections that are no longer working. That is a very serious problem, and it is leading us to a place where we will not be able to treat infections properly. So that's the problem. What's the solution? According to CDC, we need to get smart about antibiotic use and overuse. The CDC says just because your doctor doesn't prescribe antibiotics doesn't mean you're not sick. And what that means is there is a perception in the American culture that if you're sick, you get the right medicine, and antibiotics is the good stuff. So we want to get the antibiotics. The CDC says we need to get smarter than that and really understand the consequences of overusing these medications. It gives several points. Among them, I'd like to list 6 of things that we can do as a solution to help alleviate this problem of creating these antibiotic resistant strains of bacteria. Number 1, they suggest use only antibiotics only as prescribed. Use them as prescribed and follow your doctor's direction to the letter. If it says take 1 a day for 5 days, take all of them for 5 days. If you feel better after 3 days, continue the 5. Because what happens is we leave over bacteria, and those bacteria that survive become stronger and more resistant to that antibiotic, and the next time it will not be as effective, and eventually it can be not effective at all. So take it exactly as prescribed. When your doctor prescribes antibiotics, follow his directions. Number 2, take the appropriate dosage and always complete the treatment. As we've already said, when we don't complete the treatment, it creates problems and issues, and many times we will feel better, and we will feel like that we have accomplished our mission of getting back to work, getting back to school. And in reality, though, we're hurting our body and we're hurting other people by not taking these antibiotics very seriously. Number 3, never take leftover antibiotics. In other words, if someone in your house has antibiotics, they got about 2 or 3 pills left, and you have sinus infection and you want to get rid of it, don't take the leftover antibiotics. It may seem like a simple solution, but what we're doing is we're strengthening these bacteria to the point where that antibiotic is no longer working. It's a very dangerous situation. Never take another person's antibiotic. Don't take what was prescribed for someone else. Take only what is prescribed for you. Don't pressure your doctor for antibiotics. If he doesn't want to prescribe antibiotics, he's probably trying to defend you from developing antibiotic resistant bacteria in your body. So don't pressure him. Go with his treatment. Trust your doctor. And number 6, get vaccinations because according to the CDC, many of the things we treat for antibiotics could be alleviated by the vaccines we get in childhood. Finally, I'd like to close with a quote from Margaret Chan. She says, "We are fastly approaching a post-antibiotic era, the end of modern medicine as we know it. Things as common as strep throat and a child's scratched knee could someday in the future kill." It's a very frightening prognosis and one that I hope that we never encounter. Thank you.